Well, we got our first snow. So the 656 tractor, I'm trying to do a government grant where they will replace this tractor and one other one. But this tractor has to be up and running and driving forward and backwards. Once they see that, then they can decide whether it's not approved for the program. And if it is approved for the program and I get the financial aid for a new tractor, I actually have to destroy the engine in this tractor. I have to put like a 6-inch hole in the engine block. This motor is actually pretty tired. It's getting old, and the injection pump is shot on it. And I called around. They wanted like at least $1,100 to rebuild the injection pump, and there was no time frame that they could get it done. And I'm literally on a 30-day time frame to have this tractor inspected to try to get into the program. So we're gonna try to rebuild it and see what happens. I pulled the inspection cover off here and got the timing marks lined up. That sucked because it was pretty varnished. Had to keep going around and around and around to clean the governor wheel so that I could find the timing marks. And then what I did is I put a couple of notches in right here to keep that timing so that won't move. And removed the fuel inlet, the return line, the throttle linkage, and I just unbolted all the injector lines instead of trying to reach around to pull them off. It'd be much easier just to pull the unit out as one piece. Alright, that's really hard to see. But there's the two lines. And then over here, the two small ones to the one on the side of the cover there is my timing marks. Hard degree. Alright, as you can see, got the injection pump off. The dry shaft stayed right there. But if you look close, there is a lot of varnish on that. The umbrella seals seem okay, but I got new ones coming. But with the injection lines off, the injectors, the whole pump came out as one piece. It definitely is going to need a severe cleaning. So what I do is clean it up, then I'll remove the lines and start pulling the pump apart. This is probably monotonous to you guys, but I'm just going to put it on here just in case you guys end up doing it the way I'm doing it. So from the front of the engine closest to the fan, this line comes all the way back, comes here, and goes right here. Top one outside. The second one down on the outside follows all the way to here and goes up and goes to number 4. The third one on the outside goes up, followed up to here, goes to number 2. Bottom side towards engine, comes out, goes all the way up, and goes to 6. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the phone and do this. The middle one, closest to the engine block, comes up, goes right here, and goes to number 3. And then top one, right back here, and just the other side of the fuel inlet comes down, comes up here, comes all the way up, and goes to number 5. That way when you take these off, if that gets mixed up or whatever, you'll have the layout. But in theory, this should just slide back on and tighten right up. Alright, so I got the lines off. I cleaned this off as much as I could. It's pretty nasty. When I get it down into individual pieces, I'll wire wheel it, clean it. And this is a what I'm doing video. This is not a how-to video. Like I said, I just don't want to spend the money for having to get rid of the tractor after. I just need it up and running. Best thing I could say as a suggestion is get yourself like a box lid like this. So as you take this apart, any pieces that go to roll around or fall anywhere, they get trapped in here. And then get yourself a nice clean surface to clean and reassemble everything. So I'm going to slowly pull this apart. There's a lot of videos on, what's it called? I think it's Master, I think it's called. Pump. There's a lot online how to do it. And the other reason I'm not too scared about this pump is it has, as you can see, the safety wire still here and here. So it hasn't been torn into before. So basically everything that's going to be in here is going to be original. So as long as I don't touch anything that screws with settings, adjustments, metering, any of that, I shouldn't have a problem just to get this thing up and going. So I'll bring you back once I get the top cap off and figure out what I got to do in here. Okay, I got the cover off. Also try to remember orientation. Like your throttle link goes on this side. This one's just a block off. But I don't know if you can see down there. This thing is nasty. I'm pretty sure this is the problem. There is a lot of junk in there. So let me see what I got going on in here. There's a clip right on this side. Let me get the screwdriver and point to it. There's a little clip right here. That comes out. Then you can get both the halves out. Let me get that taken care of and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's this little clip. This mounts to the front of the engine. This clip drops down. Kind of hard to see. Drops down in there like that. So the long piece goes forward. They do say to replace this when you're redoing these. Alright, so these two halves should come out and the stop should come out here in a second. Okay, so now this shaft pulls right out. Trying to do a one-handed. This is your throttle stop. These little hooks on the bottom hook down the bottom side of this spring right here. And the shaft comes out just like that. This is, that's already what I found on the top of the pump. Can just imagine the amount of varnish inside this thing. Alright, and then I gotta take this governor assembly out. I gotta pull this piece out so that I can remove this spring. Okay, so this spring, this end of the spring captures up here on the governor cage. Then there's this little bushing, goes in the bottom of the spring. And then I want to call it an alignment pin that goes in on the inside, and then this from the outside goes in and tightens up. Okay, now back here, I'm not sure what the piece is called down there on the bottom side, but the light's not the greatest quality. I apologize. But if you grab this piece, you can lift this right up as a one-shot deal. That makes it easier so you don't have to wrestle with it. You're going to have to take this pin out. This holds the governor fork or whatever it's called there. So once you lift this piece up, pull that out, this will all come out in one piece. Let me get that out real quick. It's pretty gummed up, so it's trying to have a hard time coming out. But there's a step lip here on the top. That step lip goes up. And then the smaller part of the triangle goes forward and down. Now the governor fork lifts right up, and that's the full assembly right there. I don't know if you can see, there is a lot of crud in here. Still got a little bit more to get out. I don't know if you can see down there. All right, so that part's done. I got to get this metering. I believe it's called a metering valve. I got to get that pulled out. So note to self, that metering valve was stuck. And the pin right there is going to go on the outside of the tractor, and it's moved by that armature right there. Let's see if I shine a light back in there. It is pretty gross. Okay, let's dig a little deeper. Okay. So anyone familiar with these, this is a vane style pump, and very hard to see also, I'm sorry. There's a C down there on the bottom, which means it's a clockwise pump. The seal will come in the kit, so that'll be replaceable. I got to pull out of this part and clean it. Believe it or not, there's actually a jet and everything in there that needs to be taken care of. But check your orientation too, because this pin right here lines up with this. So you got to make sure that goes back on in that direction. Okay, I just loosened these up. They're 1 1/8 inches. I got to take them out. One actually has a spring on it, and the other one I think is just a receiver. So let me get them out and take a look. Okay, this one over here, got this one almost out. This is the inbound side, the side closest to the engine block. I believe this one, yep. This one has the spring with all these pieces. We got to make sure we line back up. Also, this little cup on the top here, it's pretty nasty and corroded, as you can see. That ends up, if you can see in there, there's a ball. It catches on that side. There's also a ball on the other side. That's what advances and retards the timing. But I don't know, because usually there's an adjustment on it. This one has absolutely no adjustments, so maybe you won't have to. And then I got to take this plug out of the bottom so I can get that out, and then I'll be able to pull out the other part of the injection pump. Let me get this piece off. Bear with me. Okay, and this one comes off the outbound side. This is the piece I was talking about right here. That's what captures that ball in there. So the one with the spring goes towards the engine block. The one that doesn't go towards the engine block doesn't have a spring on it. Okay, let me get this other piece out of the bottom here. Seems a little odd to just beat on it with a hammer, but if you smack this a few times, it'll loosen it up enough that you can break it free with a screwdriver. Okay, there's a special spline tool for that. I'm gonna go see if I got one. So I took this keeper ring off that goes on top of there. The governor, on the end of the governor went to crap. There's two lines right here that line up. So you're gonna line those back up. Those lines with that notch. As you can tell though, she is pretty nasty. So let's see how gross this thing is. Okay, it's hard to see. There's a part number right here, but the arrow goes this way. So when I'm standing on the top of it, the arrow is going to go clockwise. So it spins. Move it up to the top so you can see. See the arrow? So it goes to the right. And this, got to make sure it says clockwise. That's counterclockwise, which goes in. You want to see the clockwise facing out towards us. So it'll say clockwise. Like I said, counterclockwise goes in. So there's two half moons in there, and then there's a ring. the ring goes on the outside of the half moons to hold them into place. That right there is the little metal half ring. Okay, I wire wheeled it, cleaned it up. There is a lot of parts in there that need to be cleaned up. I'm going to scrub them, wire wheel them, clean them up. I've got some parts on order from Amazon. I need to, just got a little beat up because the timing advance pin was jammed in there and then the head broke off. So I had to weld a bolt to it. It's kind of ugly, but welded a bolt to it. Then I had to cut the bolt in half to get it out, but I got that. So I'm going to run a tap through here, get this all cleaned up, and I got to get a new pin. I got the kit coming, and I think I may or may not get the upgrade. I think I'm going to get the upgrade because it was only like 27 bucks on Amazon. So they make a upgraded governor assembly. So I will probably order that one up. The only thing I did do is I did screw up this a little bit down here. I nicked the threads. So whether I can fix that or not, it doesn't do much, but just as a plug to get to the other piece. So can always tap it, put a different size plug in it. But other than that, everything else, started cleaning it up a bit. I got to get all the paint off it, get it all cleaned up. Might as well make it look nice, even though the motor is not so great on the tractor. If I put my time into it, maybe the injection pump can get transferred over to another tractor. All right, so I got that piece that was broken. This controls the timing. Got it on Amazon. Came from Badger Diesel. The governor fell apart, so they make a new one, a solid one piece. Again, got that from Amazon. And the rebuild kit for it, there's the part number. Again, Amazon. So I have $118 in pieces right here. So if this works, to get this pump rebuilt, I got quoted $1,100 and a couple of weeks. So let's see if I can get this thing going. So with this piece that came off, what you do is, and down here there's a little notch, and if you look between those two little ear tabs right there, there's a line. So if you line that notch up with that little line right there, and you have the two pieces taken apart, you can take this part, line up with your timing. So as you can see, there's a timing mark there, and there's another one right between those two ear tabs. Then you take this one, set it over there, and then you hold it, and hard to see, but there's a line right there for the timing. So I made the groove in this top one, just so it would be in time. And that's all you do with that. And then you put it back together. So I got to finish cleaning up some stuff, get it all degreased, junkified, whatever you want to call this stuff. It's nasty. Some of it, believe it or not, I got to scrape at it. So I'll get most of that cleaned off and put it back together. Also, there's a wire that goes, there's a hole right here, but the wire drops down into there. That's what separates the air from the fuel. And then two little plugs and a plug here. This plug naturally goes in on an angle, so it's going to obviously come out on an angle. So just pay attention to that. And there's this little piece of wire. I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty gunked up. So I got to clean that. And the two Allen head screws are there, and the other one's right there. All right, let me get this cleaned up and start assembling it. All right, so I put this back in. It's like a little nozzle, a spring, and then this piece, but they say to replace this piece, and it comes with the seal kit with all the O-rings and stuff. So there's a new one of those. And then, like I I said I put this plug back in. It goes in on the side. This little plug, and then this plug has the wire on it. It's like a metering wire or something. I forget how it actually works, but somehow it takes the air out and returns it to the tank. All right, let me get the vane pump back in. All right, so I pulled the seal out and put this new one in. This little notch right here. There's a bigger bolt that goes in the bottom. This one right here, like a 12 point. That goes in the bottom, so that orients the bottom. So then this cover goes on there. This little tab drops in right there. So I got the new piece in. The threads on this were kind of messed up. As you can tell, the threads weren't the greatest. But it's actually, if you need a tap for it, let's see if I can get it in focus. 3/8/24 is the tap. And I ran that in a few times, and works really good. And the other thing is I had to weld a bolt to the end of this to get it out because the end snapped. You can pound a 3/8 socket on it, they said, to take it out. I didn't know that at the time, so I welded it on. But seemed to work welding it. I got to put these two plugs in here. Got to get some diesel fuel because you're not supposed to put them in without having this submerged in diesel. And then everything here needs to be lubed up with diesel anyways. So this part is just fit together, but it definitely got to submerge it in diesel. All right, I changed the lower O-ring, lined up the bottom, the big bolt, the 12 point bolt there, and then this is for that little knob for the timing advance and retard adjustment. Two marks are lined up there. And I put a little bit of grease on the inside edge to keep the O-ring from tearing going on. And you want to keep this facing up at all times until you get the throttle linkages in it pulled back. Because otherwise, these will fall out and then you take it apart again. All right, so I got the housing together. I got to snug up them bolts. I got that bottom one in with the new O-rings. I got to put the return spring, I call it. I don't know what it is, but it allows the governor and stuff to come back. Everything's functioning freely, so hopefully that's a good sign. So I got to put that back together. And then on the bottom, for the timing, I've got to make sure I have which one goes on which side, which goes on the other. And dump some diesel fuel in it, get it primed up, get the lines all back on it, and hope for the best.